They're picking me apart like vultures.
I said find someone to pick you up, and you called Feinbaum?
You heard him, Paul. Pick me up. Okay, I need positive affirmations.
Dadgummit, we are falling apart right out of the gate, and y'all are just eating it up, okay? This stuff hurts all of us.
I'm not psychic, Annie. That's an illusion caused by extreme preparedness.
But what do you hope is true?
Oh, God, no, I never hope. Hope is pouting in advance.
This is Past the Rock. I didn't have a whole lot on that one.
It's all right. I mean, it is a very fresh year. You maybe you should have used the Corso saying the
mumbling through his words.
The fuck it, give me that head, baby, or whatever it was.
They've got the last 12 of 15 quarterbacks that have won a Heisman, where he's just making up nonsense. Anyways, we are going to talk about college football. It did officially really kick off this last weekend. Get to. What did I even write down here? Oh, week one.
Let me have some hot takes down here.
So yeah, I mean, we were gonna recap it all. Let's do Thursday, Friday quickly before we get to
Saturday,
the big Saturday, because we had a big long
Sunday,
extravagant, and Monday, the big long extravagant week to start this off officially. We started things off with Boise State, South Florida. Most people looked at this as an opportunity to prove that Boise was no longer a top 25 and that they had been more or less given that because they were, in fact, a playoff team last year. And they're right, 34-7 South Florida. We're going to see my tech skills in play. Where is the first one? Is the fucking, what is it called? Oliver guy. Yeah, boom, shada boom, shada bang. We got a quarterback going nutty here. This is South Florida's quarterback about to just let that Boise State play out. It doesn't ever play that one again. Nice.
Whoop. I can't do that high-pitched whoop.
Boom. Yeah, beautiful. That's all you need to know about that game. Pretty awesome. What else? Oh, actually, no, there was two other important facts. South Florida has another Grammatica, which I believe is like their fourth Grammatica kicker total. They also have a star wide receiver named Chaz Nimrod.
Nice.
And one of the biggest things they did to break this one open was the classic backup quarterback as punter routine to convert a fourth down. So that was fun.
So you got to get a quarterback who can drop punt.
Yeah, well, honestly, bring Danny
Colt
White.
did it a few times, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think in his era was the last I've seen of that. Nebraska, Cincinnati. This one ended up being quite boring. I was expecting Nebraska to be like able to take care of this. So to paint the larger image of this, we have Taylor Swift in the building, fresh off an engagement here.
Why?
I know that sounds crazy.
Did Kelsey go to Cincinnati?
Kelsey went to Cincinnati. This game also at Arrowhead. So Patrick and wife is there. I think all the Chiefs were in a box together. It looked like. Dana Holgerson, now the OC in Nebraska. A lot of interesting things going on there. Dylan Ryle is still kind of mid though. Cincinnati has a corner named McDoom. Not that good of a player, but I enjoyed it. Cincinnati had a chance to win this. Really should have, more or less, it felt like towards the end. Cincinnati quarterback, he was doing good on the ground. Wasn't bad converting yards on the scramble. Doing okay throwing the ball. Decides to yoke it up for a one-on-one ball, and the DB comes down with it. Like while they're driving, didn't have to at all. They would have easily
Brett
at least
Favre.
got the field goal. Yeah, they would have got the field goal to tie probably, and he just yucks that thing into not a good place. And then we have Ohio Rutgers, which would not have been brought up in any way, although it is interesting that Rutgers almost blew this game 34-31. It was final here. We have it, and I'm sorry not to boast or use these guys. I don't love to use Barstool, but I have to in this case. Of course, who else other than Barstool is going to make sure that this clip is on the internet forever. Yeah. How do you feel about that? That Fryer
That seems like a bit on purpose.
You think that he's being hazed into the coaching?
Hayes lost a bet, something to motivate the players because they achieved something before the season started.
One of those. Yeah, I don't think that he went and consciously did that, thinking, "Yo, I'm about to rock this shit." I think there's like a reason. He's like, "All right,
give me
I gotta own up."
SNL Davis haircut.
Mark Davis now.
Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, that was football.
Why does that other coach look like George W. Bush? But anyways,
that's Greg Schiano, if you remember correctly. Greg Schiano back at Rutgers. Friday, we had Auburn versus Baylor. This one looked all right, but I call it a dumbass shootout. What I mean by this is this game was really ugly, kind of stupid, and then all of a sudden scores, and they weren't necessarily pretty. Baylor did have a chance once they got back into it, but I think one of the most deflating things in all of football, but particularly in college football, is the fact that it's more likely for you to score a touchdown and then the said kickoff return be returned. And that is just a hell of a momentum breaker once you're trying to come back. And they were still in the game, still had a chance, but ultimately that one ended up being bad. Them not being able to stop Auburn's running game. Auburn has Oklahoma's old quarterback.
Dylan Gabriel?
No, not Gabriel. He's in the league.
Jackson Arnold.
Jackson Arnold. They have Jackson Arnold, and he still doesn't throw the football well, but they have a power run offense, so better situation for him there. Baylor plays in the Big 12, so that was unfortunate.
Jackson with a CK or with an X?
CK.
Okay.
I think there's only a few Jack. I know Jackson Shipley was also an X.
They're coming. There's X's all over kids' names now.
I see. And then Georgia Tech
world.
And then Georgia Tech, Colorado finished us out on Friday for the interesting ones. This was a 27-20 Georgia Tech win. So Dion does start 0-1 with his new quarterback, Caden Salter. Impressive loss here because Georgia Tech had 3 turnovers on their first 3 drives of this game. Hayes King goes 13 for 20 for 143 yards passing. So those are numbers you would expect to win with. Unfortunately, Hayes King also 156 yards rushing, 19 carries, 3 touchdowns on the run. I didn't get the picture of it. There's a white gold uniform Georgia Tech is doing. Kind of like it. Interested to see how you guys feel about it. I think it's pretty good. But they had that one. I don't know if they debuted it this year or not, but this is the first I've noticed it. Caden Salter had an opportunity to pull off a miracle in this one. A little bit of an overthrow with about 10 seconds left. It was also a tough throw to where I think his receiver potentially didn't believe in his ability to get the ball, where ultimately, I mean, he got the ball in a position where a receiver could have beat the 3, almost I think was 3 or at least 2 defensive backs and scored. But I think there was also potential the receiver didn't finish the route because the receiver probably did not actually believe that ball was going to be where it was supposed to be. So don't know which one happened on that one, but there was a little bit of a chance to tie this one as time expired. Have you found the white gold?
Maybe. Are they are the uniforms themselves actually white, or are they?
They're white with gold accent.
Okay, then yeah, I found it. There's multiple different.
Yeah, that's fair. College football, man.
So, this guy.
Yeah, that one looks fine. I think when it was on the field, it's not that. Yeah, it's white. It's a white helmet as well. It was like I think it was this mock-up. It was the mock-up that's to the left of that photo. Yeah. No, that looks older.
Who were they playing? Sorry.
They're playing Colorado.
Colorado. I should have started with this.
Yeah, there you go.
Hard to make these bigger on here.
Yeah, so there you go. You got the white golds. Kind of look like the Luka Real Madrid Mavs jersey.
Yeah, okay.
You got the silver accents on the gold with the white.
It's hard to see the gold stripe on the helmet in a lot of these shots.
It is difficult. That's why I wasn't sure if some people would like it or not, but I kind of enjoyed it. That was interesting.
Yeah.
So
I've seen worse.
You out white and golded Colorado. So congratulations. You also beat them. And then takes us to Saturday, which is where we really pick up on the biggest game. And I think you can do leading the Texas Ohio State, and then I'll pick up whenever you're done.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, lots of hype, lots of nonsense going into this game.
Significance.
This game especially, and then we'll talk about more when we talk about what the rankings are now. Why I think preseason rankings are dumb.
Well, they got to do them, just like they have to do them for this week, and I don't know that they're that much better this week than they were last week.
Yeah, I just don't see that. Yeah, I don't know when you start doing them, but it's but honestly, very similar to a lot of Texas games last year, where the defense keeps them very much in the game, and the offense just kind of F's around until the end and does a little too little too late. That's kind of the broad strokes of the thing. The highlight of the game for Texas was that
extremely conservative offensive play calling.
On that, I can't wait till we actually get into talking about what they did on offense, because it's so
that's fair. Highlight of the game for Texas is the punter being able to pin Ohio State, back behind the 10 so many times, which probably kept that game a lot closer than it needed to be. Not that Ohio State.
That game does go awry without a bad. With the bad punter, that game definitely gets ugly.
It can, and then their punter ends up having one good punt that probably helps them seal the game. So
yes,
couple
actually had a good punt. Yeah,
Arch played terribly for pretty much 90% of the game.
At least the first quarter and a half was definitely terrible.
I would just go ahead and say the first half.
Yeah.
First half was bad. The second half there was signs, and then by the end of the game, it was like, okay, fuck yeah, this kid rocks.
So this is the thing where obviously way too hyped. No player should ever be that hyped.
It's that last name, man.
He looked like a guy who's playing in his first real game against the defending national champs, and that's fine. He could have made more mistakes. Mostly he was just inaccurate. So.
There's a particular
in terms of like
mechanical.
He's not just throwing.
I think that's
he's not just throwing the ball to linebackers open in the middle of the field. You know what I mean?
I think the thing with Arch is the mechanics were under talked about, and they're not awful. They're not like this big talking point, but like obviously he skipped a rock on his first throw, and had that throw been on point. That looked like it was at least set up to be 20+ yard play, and it would have kicked in the first drive of the game, right? Sure. Like this would have been a much different result.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he skips it again. Then he throws it behind the guy, and there was a lot of overthrows in the middle, and the outsides.
And we could talk about the thing that I noticed in this game that I didn't see last year, and maybe that's just me needing to go back and pay more attention to the way he was throwing when he played last year. But it's that sidearm motion that I was like, that wasn't there last year.
Everyone was confused by sidearm. So that one, in fairness, might be most attributable to Arch being a little too in his head in that game. I don't know. I don't think anyone had talked about a sidearm throw. Everyone was looking at pretty much anyone I'd heard react to the game mentioned the sidearm as a confusion point as well.
And the thing is, it's not even like it was like, oh, it's just a little bit of sidearm. No, this guy went all the way down. Yeah, that was Vince Young-esque, and I'm like, listen, I know I compared.
We wanted him to be Vince. You wanted to be Vince.
That's not what I meant by like I want you to replicate with the Vince Young thing. That was so strange. You have the bad sidearm throws, along with just this boring babysitter offense that
wasn't executed. Definitely back.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, if you're gonna do babysitter offense, complete these passes. So one, you weren't doing that, and then you're running this basic offense.
I mean,
It
yeah,
just
maybe that is the thing that would have progressed the offense beyond it if he was able to just do the simple stuff. Then they can try something else.
And maybe,
No,
but
and
at the
they
same
talked
time,
about
I'm
a
like,
difference between Quinn being able to get the ball out faster and that helping their RPO game, especially last year.
and I think the reason the ball wasn't coming out as quickly is because Arch is just a better athlete at the position. You know, so he has.
There was overthinking. There was a lot of overthinking. It felt like. I don't think there was. I know there wasn't a great receiver game. That's also a fair point in all of this.
The receiving core, I'm a little worry about because I think what gets under talked about coming into this season.
It's hard to judge based on those throws.
No, for sure,
Well,
but this is not the same receiving core that he had last season.
There was a lot of moments where Arch had time, and there was nothing happening downfield, or he was not putting the ball where it needed to go. And that's where it's a little hard to get in between the two of like, I do think the kid was overthinking from my opinion.
I think what was under talked about
probably didn't help.
Yeah, I think what's under talked about with this Texas team going in is like just the amount of turnover at the skill positions from last year.
Offensive line, most importantly, which also felt relevant.
Oh no,
to this
sure.
Game.
I mean, not just, but it's
multiple
offensive line,
false starts in this game as well.
Yeah,
right?
you had multiple linemen drafted and or got picked up in undrafted free agency, right? So you lose some talented people, even if they were flawed. And then, of course, on the receiving end, I think they lost like 3 wide receivers, 4, if I'm not entirely mistaken. So you combine
it was a
that.
decent chunk, no, But again, these are kids who are also expected to go to the NFL now. This isn't the old Texas. This is the loaded Texas team.
Yeah, it's loaded, but it's so
there was too much youth, and they were playing in the shoe. And as much as Sark thinks the babysitter offense is the right call, maybe it is. I think ultimately that team felt a little scared of the moment. Once they started thinking clearly, they had way more success. Arch still was a little chaotic, obviously, or else maybe we're talking about a different end result. Even as this game ended, there was opportunities. But the memes hit hard in the first half. Starch Manning compares to Chris Sims and Jed Bush, and the Jed Bush one was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. Chris Sims feels like that's a little too harsh quickly, but I guess it's not impossible.
We're talking about one game. I don't think any of them are exactly.
Yeah, but it's funny. You're gonna get the jokes. You're gonna, especially because he is. There has just been like this is the fault of everybody who had him number 1 in mocks. This is the fault of people who were like he's saving the Cowboys or whatever, the Saints or whoever, right? Like this is the people who got too lost in the sauce of recruitment. And it's just like, hey man, this is a really talented player, but even if you watched last year, he was not perfect. Like there was a lot of signs that Arch wasn't going to be an immediate success.
No, he wasn't perfect, but he was dynamic, and that's
he was still dynamic in this game once he stopped thinking so goddamn much. Like you did see a lot of why Arch Manning looks like the guy that everyone's getting excited about. The only difference is Caleb Downs is going to the NFL next year as a top 10 pick and probably shut that whole field down more or less than anyone else playing, right? Like that just happens.
It happens, but also, again, and I'm looking through the receivers who everybody who caught a pass, right? Do you know who the most established skill position player is catching passes for that team right now?
Probably the transfer from Cal, the tight end, right?
No, not even, man. It's Jack Andre.
Yeah, that's the tight end from Cal.
Did he not play for? He's the transfer from Cal.
He transferred in from Cal. Yeah, he replaced old thick neck white boy. Yeah, Gunnar Helm.
Gunnar.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So it's that guy.
And Andres looks pretty good too. He looked like he was Jason Witten out there. So, no separation, but all catches.
To hit the other side of that a little bit, Ohio State probably should have been. If you're doing preseason rankings, I don't know how you don't put them number 1. I mean, they lost their quarterback, but he's a guy. He's not.
Yeah, that also the same reason that Texas
Super Saiyan didn't exactly pop off in his first game either.
At all.
He just got lucky that we committed a few penalties, and then our offense didn't do anything. So,
the biggest thing of this game, the nasty game, peaks nasty about 5 minutes, 6 minutes left in the third quarter when Texas assumedly gets a safety. Oh, wait, just kidding. Offsetting penalties. So, yeah.
He did have his hands in his face, though. So
No, it wasn't a bad call. It was just hilarious that,
I think we even had we got a wide receiver offside penalty on a pretty good pickup at one point.
There was some tough penalties from the Texas side. And the penalties were heavy Texas. And there wasn't even that many penalties. It was just the fact that
at
Texas
one point
was
they
the
had
only one
five.
committing
They had five. The first 5 for 45 yards or something.
Yeah.
Watching that game,
not gaining yards.
Watching that game, and I know we talked about the whole ridiculousness of preseason rankings, right? But I don't know how you watch, even just or just look down this roster and you're like, yeah, this is the number 1 overall. This should be the number 1 ranked team, considering all the turnover that they have.
It's Texas, man. Even as a Texas fan, you have to acknowledge
what's annoying. What annoys
Texas,
me
but
most.
Texas is such an unproven program in the 2020s.
The Dallas Cowboys are still going to get a lot of people betting on them to win the Super Bowl every year.
I mean, in Caesar's defense, this is supposed to be you're not stealing money from people, you're just making a list. So there's that. But I would say what bothers me most about the preseason rankings is if Ohio State kind of stumbles at any point, they now have they beat number 1 Texas on their resume, which it's just
or Texas. Oh, their only losses to number 1 Ohio State.
Yeah, number 3 Ohio State.
Well, they'll be assumedly they'd be number 1.
That's not how it's built in the. I mean, it makes the conversations weird.
I think it's just we have to understand that all things can be true here. Texas was a poor choice to be the preseason favorites because ultimately both teams were returning so many players, and the home team was Ohio State. I don't think they could have factored in the game. That's the problem. Is if you factor in the game, Ohio State is a clear number 1 team because ultimately Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons both should be very talented first-round pick potential guys, just like Caleb Downs and a couple of the other Ohio State defenders. Realistically, that's what both teams had going for them.
Last time they played, last playoff, it was a pretty close game. There were a lot of moments they could have swung that thing either way. So you're just saying, okay, who do we think replaced players better on paper?
And with Texas, I think people lean towards Texas because 2 really good running backs over 1 really good receiver in Ohio State. The issue is the offensive line in the passing game being so stumped that the running game has no ability to actually do. I don't even know what the numbers.
Can you tell me why Penn State was ahead of Ohio State?
Penn State, that one is unfortunate, but that's because they are just simply returning a lot of people. Right.
Fair.
Yeah.
So that one they just
do what Penn State does best. They're going to choke when it matters.
And they got jumped. They got leapfrogged this week. So they're being treated like Penn State's being treated. Texas got slapped on the wrist, in my opinion. So everyone's going to get treated like they're going to.
Last thing I have on this game is just that it's kind of what we talked about last week. The best case scenario for a loss is what happened there. And then as long as you do your job the rest of the season, it's fine. So now they just got to do their job.
It felt hard to fathom that at halftime. But yes, I agree because ultimately
the fact that Ohio State never ran away with it,
Ultimately, the defense played all kinds of winning football that game and just obviously was let down. And the offense, while inconsistent and awful and off base, had moments where it was like, oh God, there is a lot of talent.
They got a few weeks to put it together now.
So yeah, Arch does look physically the part in a lot of ways in moments, but now it's time to stack
and
moments.
Much like what we saw last year, and what seems to happen in a lot of sports for some reason, is we need him to be ready when the game starts. And I don't know why that's such a big problem for some athletes. But
the issue is simple, but I can't explain it to you guys because you don't subscribe to the church of Cowboys and Longhorns. It's something that if you ask any Cowboy and Longhorn fan,
I mean, stars have a bit of this too now, where they're just playing from behind all the time.
Maybe we can find the formula and figure it out one day, but it's something that has stumped many Longhorn Cowboy football fans for decades now. Is how no matter what roster, no matter what happens, slow starts are to be expected regularly.
So now on the positive end, looking at the stretch right now, you have San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston. You have 3 comparative.
Right. We'll read the game after that.
And then you have Florida. You're at Florida after that. So you have 3 weeks to
Florida's
get this
expected
offense
to be very good this year, and I think they probably will be. You're in the swamp, obviously. So you're right. It's 3 games to pad the stats and not
UTEP
get
is
hurt.
nice in that they're
just to
better
get the
than those
offense
other
punched.
2 teams. They at least kind of resemble playing a real team.
Whatever, man. They did the dirty game first. They're going to be able to come at this 3-1 and hopefully with a lot of really nice stats. But ultimately, we're not really concerned with Texas again until Florida.
Fair.
Because they probably can dumb luck themselves.
Or something really bad happens.
Yeah, honestly, you have to. I do think in college football there's a decaying that has to happen before those things happen. Like there's usually signs before Appalachian State beats Michigan. You know what I mean? Like in a very what feels like historic case at this point.
About NIU beating
Notre Dame. Yeah, classic Notre Dame, dude. Just classic Notre Dame.
The other unfortunate thing is that the Longhorns do not have a cool backup. Trey Owens not pumping me up.
Is he the official backup?
Yeah, he's I don't know. Trey Owens might be better than you'd expect, but he's your classic generic. He's a pocket passer through and through. It looks like
this guy looks like he belongs in an SEC program.
But he looks like he can sling the pill, dude.
I think he's
a big guy.
An amazing QB coach somewhere someday.
He's a big guy, though. You got to give him that. Trey Owens is a big dude.
It's just the
big
face.
guy.
He's just got
he's a goofy looking dude, but he's like
looking football coach face.
He's a goofy looking frat dude. That's what he is.
I think that's very fair.
What else happened this week?
Yeah. Well, I think this is yes. UNT did beat the shit out of Lamar. We'll continue to monitor the situation, but that's not where we're going next. Still don't, but we'll see. Where we're going next is probably the most important thing that happened this weekend, actually.
Monday night?
No, sir.
Oh.
I think I know where we're going with this. Yeah.
We're going to Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, Florida.
That was beautiful.
No one could have used a fucking win more than the Florida State Seminoles, and no one could afford a loss less than Kalen DeBoer and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And yet, here we are. 31-17 is the final. The quarterback, Castellanos, calls his shot, says that Nick Saban's not there to save him anymore, then runs all over him. Bama was down their starting running back. This was notable as they couldn't really produce much after the first score, similar to a game that happened Monday we will get to. A rainstorm basically fucks them from really coming back in the end of the second half, or in the end of the first half. But more important, the most important part of this loss was that this game was still within winning. I believe it was 24-17 going into down the stretch here, maybe 7 minutes, whatever. Ultimately, Bama needs to stop the ball, right? They just need to get Florida State off the field, tie this thing up. Let's do it. What happens? They do stop Florida State. Oh, but wait, there's a penalty. What's the penalty for? Taunting. What does Florida State do? Finish the game off.
I think those after the whistle penalties should be applied to the, if there's, a turnover or an end of down situation, that should just be applied to the.
I think this one would have been a fourth down.
Third.
I think this
was
a
fourth down.
I think this would have resulted in a fourth down with no.
Okay, yeah, man, that's tough. It's dumb when those kind of penalties.
I might be wrong on that, but I felt like it was a third down.
You're probably right. That makes way more sense.
Yeah. So, bailed them out. Florida State does end up finishing the thing off, and Mike Norvell and Florida State, at least for another week, feels a little bit better about their lives after the worst season you could possibly have had following an undefeated season.
At this point, they already did it.
Well, I mean, it made sense that Florida, and I'm sure some great bettors got in on this. I kind of felt like there was a possibility. I did feel like Kalen DeBoer had more control over what was happening at Bama, but there is a lot more evidence that this is no longer anything close to what Nick Saban had. I mean, there's social media presence of these guys. Alabama fans are insane, bro. There are already people who have proof that players are sneaking girls in and out of hotels now. Like, you can't run from this fan base. They have nothing better to do. This
is true.
So it's impressive. You know, Kalen DeBoer's got a whole season to fix this, but what was it? 4 losses to unranked teams in the first year in game, and Nick Saban didn't even do that his whole tenure.
Yeah, and he's also operating under. You can never possibly recruit as well as Nick Saban. Like at peak end of time, Nick Saban. What are you going to do? How are you going to compete against that?
And probably game plan as well as Nick Saban.
Well, no, defensively, this thing did not feel like Alabama.
He could actually be a genius
could
football
he?
guy, but the recruiting
doesn't seem like
as an offensive coordinator, you do think that there's a lot to like, but it does make you wonder.
It feels like to me that Kalen DeBoer not having Michael Penix Jr. is fucking him up. Because that's what's gotten him
easier.
That made his entire life easier. Was that entire span that he had Michael Penix, which I believe started in Indiana, and then went into Washington, and now look Alabama. He couldn't figure it out with oh my God, why can't I not remember his name? Who played for them last year? The QB who played for them last year.
Oh, Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe. He couldn't figure that out. Yeah, he couldn't figure it out with him. And this new QB that they have doesn't seem to inspire confidence.
No, Ty Simpson's sort of just been there for a bit, but a good 4-star quarterback, though, I think, still, either way.
I mean, Jalen Milroe at least won the William V. Campbell Trophy, which goes to the top college football player with the best combination of academics, leadership, and on-field performance. It's the academic Heisman.
Nice.
It's the academic. Interesting.
Yeah, it's bad for Bama. There hasn't been too many great sound bites. I'm wondering if Legends passed his prime on Feinbaum. That old lady died a long time ago, so Bama has been hurting for a bit.
Yeah, it's mostly just gonna be people being mean to them this year, and then that's gonna fade soon because they're just gonna be bad for. Well, maybe not bad, but just they'll never be that again. No one will ever be that again.
Probably not, but it's amazing that they have to live in this world because they're really going to have nothing to do but obsess about this until they're anything close to it. And yeah, I think that's an interesting situation to be in for them.
As much as I hated it when it was happening, I don't think that I can find much evidence that there's ever been a better stretch in any sport from a single team. And so I think they can be just fine.
I mean, UConn women is probably just as dominant. U.S. women.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking of like the level of which they're competing and the amount of like the recruiting thing in college is so nuts, and to be able to maintain that and do that right. That the closest thing I have is as a Spurs fan. It's like if we don't win one next year, that's cool. I got to see 5 of them. So these guys are like, oh yeah, we've been number 1 or 2 in the country for 20 years.
They're going to murder Kalen DeBoer this season, most likely.
He'll get fired and someone else come in there and be worse.
Well, we know who's potentially the next head coach at Alabama, and he's got to do with our next game. That is the battle at Death Valley between the Bayou Bengals and the Clemson Tigers.
You think that's the play for him? Which one?
Dabo?
Yeah, you think he's going to?
Yeah, I 100% think Dabo would take the Bama job next year if it came open.
Do you think they want him if he doesn't do NIL deals?
I think that Dabo's been cute about this, but I think that
he's going to play ball.
Nothing is more important to someone who's true to the Tide.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? He is a Tide. He is a part of the Tide. So I am interested at the draw. I just don't. If I'm him, like why? Like it's an opportunity, and you don't even have to be the guy who followed Saban anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
but do you want to go to your dream job too late in your career and then leave?
But too late. I mean, Clemson had a tough loss here. Maybe they should have won, but ultimately, Clemson's still very likely to be in this thing down the stretch. So. It is different for Dabo. The ACC has been a different, you don't have as many opportunities to lose in the ACC, for sure, it feels like. But yeah, so this one was an interesting one. LSU's defense made it very hard on Cade Klubnik, who's sort of the Heisman favorite, number 1 pick-ish. I don't know. It's pretty up in the air, but there was plenty of people who would have given him the consideration. His star receiver, Antonio Williams, another guy who could be a first-round pick, went out of the game in the first quarter, so obviously that doesn't help. Basically, this is a super slow, grindy game, as you might expect, which is probably good for LSU.
Can I derail you for 1 second?
Yes.
Just because I was very curious about Patrick's words on Dabo Swinney being too old in his career. Here's the thing. I just looked this up. Nick Saban was 55 years old when he took over the Bama job. Dabo Swinney currently 55 years old. Just something to think about.
Nice. Oh, spooky.
I would have thought he was older than Nick Saban.
Excited. He acts like it. So yeah, Clemson's 4th and short in a red zone opportunity, more or less, to get this thing tied up, get this thing in there. LSU stops it again. Very, 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 very good LSU defense. Very under duress, Cade Klubnik. Again, very similar vibes to Ohio State, Texas, where we can confirm these offenses have players, but that these defenses are much more talented and ready to play right now.
And isn't that the majority of every football year is the defenses are always starting better than the offenses?
Yep, and that's probably why many smarter, logical people were calling Texas Ohio State to be a slow burn game if it was to get high at the score, or to be a junkyard fight like it was. So yeah, both of these games kind of junkyardy. Neither one matters a lot, but LSU wins their first openers under the Brian Kelly era, I believe, right?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 years, I believe.
So,
which I can't. I mean, Texas lost to Maryland 2 years in a row, and I was like, that's it. The program's over.
No, and it was actually funny how much Maryland would just beat the piss out of those Texas teams. That one only interesting in the fact that LSU lived up to the hype to some extent. Their offense looked fine comparatively, but I think there's been a little overhype with how successful that group was, even though 17 in the opponents, I don't know. It's a tough one to gauge this early. Other notable Saturday games. We had the Aggies and the Hoosiers keep their stuff a little too close for comfort for a second. Aggies end up blowing that one out pretty decently late in the third. Hoosiers end up winning like 27-14 or something goofy like that to a pretty far lesser opponent. Indiana's, expected to be back this year to be a playoff contender again. Also expected to have a quarterback in Mendoza that could be an NFL player. So interesting to see that. Kansas State needed a game-winning drive to beat North Dakota. That was very unfortunate.
QBU over there, so.
Yeah, I know. No fights from the family of Avery Johnson in this one, I don't believe. But this clip felt like it needed to be shared with you guys if you want to know how their day was going.
Just that lineman not okay. I was like, why am I not seeing the play? Because I guess he's not seeing the play.
Yeah, I mean, he, oops.
Jesus, that's rough.
Yeah, it's not good. Just one more time for goodness.
That is awful.
That one's a funny one for sure.
He's getting roasted in the film room so hard for that one.
Yeah, Kansas State.
Or he's the only one who ran the right play, and everyone else is getting roasted.
That too. I don't know which one's worse, honestly.
Kansas State does win the game, but does also have people wondering whether they want to sign up to play in Dublin next year. Because the Florida State thing last year, that if Kansas State loses to North Dakota the next game, oh my God. No one, whoever signed up for that game next year would have instantly been called out. You can't go this way.
They already have that game announced.
Utah, UCLA. I should have mentioned that game as something to watch. Unfortunately, UCLA is still too far behind. They got their ass kicked pretty good. So it wasn't that good of a game.
Oh, I thought you meant because their game started at like 9 p.m. here.
Yes, it was the latest game by far.
Oh, guys. All right. No, I don't want to bear the lead here. But the game that we're going to talk about Monday, the Monday game, guess who's kicking off that? Who's kicking off the Ireland?
Oh yeah.
Oh God,
I forgot
Carolina
and
TCU.
TCU, yeah.
are going back at it.
That's the
Ireland game. Oh my god, that one's gonna be
whoever loses that, it could be bad. That's funny. So Sunday we got 2 games. One of them really not fun to watch. A lot of these games were really gross. All we learned about this game is you always kneel an end zone interception. Always, unless it's a goal line, because then you probably have a good shot at getting across, getting all the way. Scar probably would have had a easier day had they learned that lesson, because Lenora Sellers got set up to fail and also didn't do a good job himself in that moment. Played really well overall by the end of this one. Ends up looking pretty good.
So I watched that entire game, and the first drive, I was very impressed with the Voltech quarterback, and then the game just kept going, and he just got so disgustingly bad.
That game was gross, bro.
He was awful to watch. That entire offense was awful to watch, and Lenora Sellers, outside of that one bad, he had a few bad plays here.
The game started very slow for Scar, and then they ended up doing all right.
Yeah, he picked it up. They picked it up as a whole, and you could see why he's going to probably be one of the top 3, maybe the quarterback talked about the most this season as the year progresses.
Very likely. Very likely. But yeah, so Scar at least gets the win to start. Nothing too crazy from that game. Then we had Notre Dame, Miami. Return of Catholics versus convicts. Of course, I've got to get this one started on this hilarious part. Look at these guys. They seem so cocky.
That Notre Dame has is that Miami is a bunch of unintelligent thugs that just play instinctually and not wisely.
So proud. Look at this.
What are these talking points? Why are
more like Yacht Rock Stadium, Catholics over the convicts? That one's very lame, but I would expect nothing less from you. Anyway, so
who are these people?
No one knows, just like us for the most part.
Okay.
But unfortunately, they made the mistake of being racist on camera, and now we
putting it on the internet.
Now they might get a lot more subscribers.
Very likely, but they also took an L. Notre Dame, another very sluggish game to start. This one did end up having some scores and some fun. Beck looked a little bit better. CJ Carr had ultimately some fatal flaws that threw this one away.
Is that in relation to Derek and...
No, this is Lloyd Carr, former Michigan head coach. This is his grandson. CJ Carr, really talented, honestly. Really fun player. I'd like to see where he probably will play at Notre Dame for a couple of years unless he leaves, but I think probably Notre Dame, so he'll probably stay. Really talented player. Go ahead.
Oh no, this is how you know I have ADHD. So I'm going on the Miami roster, looking at Carson Beck. I'm like, he's been around for a while. He's a 5th-year senior. He kind of looks like a young Chandler Parsons.
Yeah, I mean there's that.
Is that the name of our fraternity brother, Parsons? Yeah, that one.
Oh no, Chandler Parsons, an ex-NBA player. You're talking about
not the NBA player. Chris Parsons. Yes, there we go.
Yes.
Chris Parsons without the facial hair. Look at his profile.
That's an interesting one. I don't know that, but it's been a minute, so I would have to look at that again. But yeah, so that's as everyone would know, Chris Parsons.
All right.
But this is what everyone's talking about from the Miami game. Is it the catch of the year already? I need you to tell me. Odell's it. It's a big tutty in the game. Little bit of bobble action, but nothing too sketchy. Not like we saw.
It's a fine catch. It's not going to be the catch of the year.
It's definitely it's going to be in the contenders for it because of the nature of how far he has to stretch out for it. To say the fine catch is and that is pretty much OBJing it. Here's the thing, though. That safety.
Don't you have to get past 180 to OBJ it?
I don't think so. No, that's pretty much as OBJ as it gets. Maybe not as far extended, but he's pretty there. Look at that. Look at that extension.
That's a hell of extension.
I mean,
because it bobbles.
I'm just gonna say this. Number 8. What the hell are you doing, man? You going for a pick where you should be going for the hit? Oh, soft.
Yeah, but that's also a defenseless receiver call waiting to happen, right?
I don't know about that one.
It could be, but yeah, I mean, where he's at, you would still hope you get the more hand on the ball.
I would just think you go for a swat, but
I mean, he plucked that thing out of the air. The real conversation is how we're still talking about Carson Beck in the number 1 pick conversations, and this is the best play of the game from him, and it was an overthrow.
No, there's no shot he's being talked about right now.
We have hello Weezer. We have such a there's Weezer behind me.
Oh.
I saw it quickly. Yeah, there is so much. Yeah, there's so much to talk about with the quarterbacks, and I don't. He's not one of them that I feel interested in. And he's not a bad one. He might win the championship this year, but
I gotta push you along here. Monday night, TCU Carolina. 70 new Tar Heels versus a ton of returning Horny Frogs. UNC quick strike touchdown, UNC quick strike touchdown, and then just proceeds to do nothing but lay wet farts all over the fan base. There was an interception tip that led to a pick 6. That was pretty funny. So like while there was still a chance in this game, like while it was still competitive, they got a tipped interception and then instantly threw a pick 6. TCU had poison ivy outbreak that they had to manage by putting a guy in a suit for like the whole practice, like he in a full body suit for the whole practice. And then the announcers, obviously being the big ones, I think it's Reese and Kirk, right? They go, well, this is a big moment for the UNC right here. Gotta get it done here. 1 play touchdown drive from the Horned Frogs. So tough one for UNC, pretty much from start to finish. All the memes, Michael Jordan's laughing at him in the box. You have the girlfriend on the sideline talking to him mid-game. You have the post-game conference full of sorority balloons. She's on the sideline.
She was on. There's a video of her conversing with him in between plays.
Oh, he's just not taking this job seriously at all.
No, I doubt it at this point, man.
But the best part of this game to me was for the sickos who tuned in for the pregame show and got to hear an interview with Bill Belichick himself, where he, in his own little Bill Belichick way, goes, maybe we'll figure out what we are, but we're just not. I don't think we're very good right now, or something. It was something to the point of basically saying that this team isn't good. Obviously, we just thought he was being Bill Belichick, but he was being dead serious, actually. They're really actually not very good. They also started Gio Lopez instead of the Max Johnson guy, who was the older, more experienced guy, had a gruesome injury, but it's like, wouldn't you start him and then go to the other guy?
I don't know.
Like, it's a good story.
I think Belichick just likes him young.
Steve Belichick is also the defensive coordinator / coach in waiting. We should not forget that. And his defense was probably as atrocious in this as the offense was.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, I did see one really funny thing, a lot of funny things from this game. I think one of them was like,
we could have been here all day.
Yeah. What was it? It was something about 24. Oh, yeah. Because he's 24 years old, Max Johnson, right? Same age as his girlfriend.
Oh, right.
And they're like, that's funny, man. Bill Belichick probably needs 24 blue chews so he can get a Max Johnson.
Okay.
I was like,
boom.
Okay, that was a good one. All right. But no, I will say this, though. It looked absolutely, whenever he did come into play, that the offense knew what they wanted to do when Max Johnson came in.
It's also like 41-7 at this point. But yeah.
Yeah, but like you get some sort of direction and you get some sort of stability there. And sure, that could be that TCU called off the dogs. But also, if I'm TCU, why would I want to do that when I have a chance to embarrass?
TCU was very pissed off about this. And credit to them, played well and very well may be the Big 12 sleeping giant that we hadn't really been talking about this season. So,
yeah. And so they could have called off the dogs. I don't think they actually did call off the dogs, honestly. But yeah, UNC. Who could have been shocked by the huge roster turnover that they weren't going to be a cohesive unit?
70 is a lot. I didn't expect them to say 70. When they said that on the broadcast, I was like, God damn.
Yeah, and I also just don't think Bill Belichick is really serious about this job.
I mean,
serious enough to collect a paycheck.
it's also like
if
he's going to be there
doing like a knock it all down and build it up from the start, then this is how you do that. So
no, and it felt like there is a truth to that, right? That this is rebuilding a program from scratch, but it also felt a little short-sighted because what Mac Brown had left you was not that bad. So Bill Belichick, Charlie Strong, it's hard to replace Mac Brown. You know what I mean? That's all the week 1 stuff that we can talk about here today. I want to give you guys my quick week 2 watch list, and then we can wrap this one on up. A much easier week for college football since the NFL is back. We have 3 slates on Saturday to pay attention to. Yes, there is Thursday and Friday games. No, I don't think they're particularly important to the national conversation. Watch them if you'd like, but I will not. 11 a.m., San Jose in Texas. That one's notable to this program, probably not to the rest of the country. Number 7, Texas. We haven't really talked about that. That's not important. Baylor will be here in the DFW area to play SMU, the 17th ranked SMU Mustangs. And then we have Cyhawk, which is Iowa versus Iowa State, who is 16. Iowa people are excited about. They've got a quarterback. They can score more than 20 points this year. Is there a natty coming? We'll see. Virginia versus NC State. This is if you're a real sicko and you're looking to see which one of these teams. No, I mean, seriously, though, these are 2 teams that are interesting teams and may actually be ranked or a part of conference championship games. At this point, neither are ranked. We're both sort of figuring each one of them out. If you remember Chandler Morris, former UNT quarterback, now at Virginia. So interesting to watch Virginia there. 2 p.m. slate, you get Ole Miss, Kentucky. This is our first SEC game of the season. Not necessarily the best one, but it is the first one. You get Kansas versus Mizzou. That'll be fun because Mizzou obviously thinks that they're hot shit and that they should be a part of the Big 12 hierarchy. Kansas, well, they do. I mean,
Big 12, Mizzou?
Or Missouri, the SEC hierarchy. Kansas should be one of the teams competing for the Big 12 championship this year. UNT will play Western Michigan. Nothing super interesting, but we'll note that. And then South Florida versus Florida in the Swamp I find interesting because South Florida beat Boise State pretty damn well and has a lot of interesting talent. And I wouldn't be that surprised if they give Florida a nice little run for their money. Ultimately, Florida probably still wins that game by a couple touchdowns, but should be a hard one for them to go out and earn, which is a good test for Florida, and we're interested to see how real they are. And then the night games, the only one that's actually got a ranked matchup, we have Arizona State versus Mississippi State. That one could be interesting. That's 12 versus unranked, but ultimately everyone's tuning in for Michigan, Oklahoma. 15 versus 18, 2 new quarterbacks. Bryce Underwood, the super 5-star quarterback. Could he be the best quarterback prospect since Arch Manning, since the guy before Arch Manning, since the guy before Arch Manning?
Years.
Yeah, whoever. Could he be? And then John Mateer at Oklahoma. Obviously, Oklahoma overhauled their entire offense basically this season. And being ranked 18th with as many people as positive as Oklahoma as they are shows that a lot of people are still afraid of how Oklahoma may not be there. And I think a lot of people are excited about Michigan and thinking they're underrated because everyone's assuming their freshman quarterback's going to hold them back. When the reality is they're probably built more like the team people made Texas out to be than anything. So we will find that out Saturday night.
I'm more excited for East Texas A&M, a.k.a. Texas A&M Commerce, going to Florida State. East Texas A&M, Google doesn't even have a logo for them. It's just a blank shield.
Oh, nice.
Man, Florida State, don't mess it up.
I wonder if that's
don't mess up
logo.
that goodwill.
Maybe it is, but that's hilarious. I didn't
not
even
mess
know
up that.
Commerce had a football team, if I'm being honest.
Al Harris, I think, right?
Sounds about right.
I think he came from Commerce.
No, Texas A&M Kingsville.
Kingsville, damn. That was close.
Anyways, yeah, I think Oklahoma Michigan's obviously gonna be a fun one for me.
It is the game. There's a lot of what I gave you is for the aficionados, but yes, that is the game for the Saturday.
That's about it.
And we're still a long ways away from knowing who's good and whatnot.
Well, I think that'll kick off our football college season, which will end our first half. And when we come back, we're going to finish the finale, the grand poobah fights in the head coach fight club. Just one.
Bumper clot.